What if I told you that some of the most alien landscapes in the universe are right here on Earth? Not in a galaxy far away, not in some science fiction film, right here, on this planet, hiding in plain sight. Tonight, we go there. We tend to think we know this planet. We've mapped it, named it, divided it into countries and continents and coordinates. We've told ourselves the story of Earth so many times that we forget. It still has secrets. Places that shatter every expectation of what normal looks like. Places where the ground glows, where rivers run 5 colors at once, where stone spheres sit on beaches, as if placed there by something that never left a name. In the next 18 minutes, we're going to travel to the most surreal, most inexplicable, most breathtaking corners of our world. Not the famous ones, not the postcard ones, the ones that make you stop and ask, is this even real? Settle in. This is Earth, but not the Earth you think you know. Number 1. Mogens Klint, Denmark. We begin not with fire, not with desert, but with something almost gentle. The cliffs of Mogens Klint, on a small island off the southern coast of Denmark, stand at the edge and you feel the world tilt. These chalk cliffs rise over 130 meters from the sea, blazing white, almost luminescent, like someone turned up the contrast on the entire world. Below them, the Baltic water runs a shade of turquoise that belongs in the Caribbean, not in Scandinavia. But here's what makes this place quietly astonishing. That chalk, all of it, is made of something you'd never expect. It's ancient seabed, trillions upon trillions of microscopic sea creatures that lived and died 65 million years ago, compressed into this impossible white wall. You are looking at a cemetery the size of a country, millions of years of silent biology stacked into something beautiful. There's something humbling about that, about standing on the remains of worlds that never knew we were coming. Mogens Klint doesn't just look unreal, it is unreal. The kind of place that makes you feel both very small and somehow very lucky to exist at all. Number 2. Caño Cristales, Colombia. Somewhere deep in the Colombian wilderness, there is a river that forgets what color it's supposed to be. They call it Caño Cristales, and locals have another name for it, the River of 5 Colors. Red, yellow, green, blue, black, all at once, all in the same water. All perfectly natural. For most of the year, this river looks like any other. But for a few weeks, usually between July and November, something extraordinary happens. A unique aquatic plant called Macarenia clavigera blooms beneath the surface, painting the riverbed in shades of crimson and scarlet. Add the yellow sand, the black rock, the green algae, and the pure blue of the water itself. And the result is something that doesn't look like it belongs on a planet that follows rules. The window is short, a few weeks, that's all. Miss it, and the river goes quiet again. Patient, ordinary, waiting for its season. There's a lesson somewhere in that. Beauty doesn't stay, it visits. and it asks whether you were paying attention. Number 3. Dalol, Ethiopia. If you wanted to design a landscape that looked radioactive, you might come up with something like this. Dalol, Ethiopia. This is one of the hottest, most inhospitable places on the surface of the Earth, and it is spectacular. The Danakil Depression sits below sea level, in a region where 3 tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart. The ground here is alive with hydrothermal vents, cracks in the Earth's crust where superheated, mineral-rich water pushes up from below. The result is a landscape that glows. Neon yellow sulfur formations, brilliant green acid pools, rust-red brine channels, orange mineral crusts that look like alien coral. The average temperature here exceeds 40 degrees Celsius, and that's the air. The ground itself is hotter still. Scientists have studied Dalol for years, debating whether any life at all can exist in its acid pools. The answer, incredibly, is yes. Microscopic organisms that seem to laugh at every condition that should make life impossible. Scientists have studied Dalol for years, debating whether any life at all can exist in its acid pools. The answer, incredibly, is yes. Microscopic organisms that seem to laugh at every condition that should make life impossible. Standing in Dalol, you're not just standing on Earth's surface, you're standing on the membrane between this world and something older, something that hasn't finished forming. Number 4. The Pinnacles Desert, Australia. Imagine walking through a battlefield where the soldiers turned to stone and never fell. That's the Pinnacles Desert, in Western Australia. Thousands of limestone pillars rise from the sand of Nambung National Park, as far as the eye can see. Some are slender, sharp-tipped needles. Others are thick, rounded towers. They crowd together like an ancient congregation that never dispersed. Nobody placed them here. They grew slowly, over millions of years, as lime-rich groundwater cemented ancient seashells into rock, and wind stripped away the sand around them, exposing what was hidden underneath. The sea made them. The wind revealed them. There's a strange silence in the pinnacles, the kind of silence that feels earned, like these formations have been waiting here so long. They stopped expecting visitors. At sunset, the golden light turns everything amber, and suddenly, the battlefield becomes something else entirely. A temple, a monument to patience. Nature builds slowly, but what it builds to last. Number 5. LN Sois Maranhensis, Brazil. From the air, it looks like someone glitched the planet's texture file and forgot to patch it. Lençóis Maranhenses, in northeastern Brazil. This place is technically a desert. It receives almost no rain for most of the year, and yet, between January and June, rainwater collects in the valleys between the dunes, forming hundreds of freshwater lagoons that range from clear to vivid turquoise to deep blue-green. The dunes don't absorb the water. There's an impermeable rock layer underneath that holds it in place, turning the desert temporarily into something that looks like a dream of a Caribbean coastline, interrupted by a dream of the Sahara. By September, the lagoons begin to vanish. By the end of the dry season, the white sand returns, smooth and unmarked, as if the water was never there. Except it will come back. It always does. There's something poetic about a desert that blooms with water, about a land that knows how to hold on to what it receives, however briefly, however beautifully. Number 6. Lena Pillars, Russia. There is a river in Siberia so remote, so vast, that most of the world has never heard its name, the Lena River, one of the longest rivers on Earth. And rising from its banks, as if they grew there, or were placed there by something that doesn't explain itself, are the Lena Pillars. These rock formations stretch for 80 kilometers along the riverbank, rising over 100 meters in some places. They are the result of 500 million years of geological compression, ancient seabed rock pushed upward, then sculpted by freeze-thaw cycles over millennia. They look like Earth's first skyscrapers, built by no architect, for no purpose, in one of the loneliest places on the planet. In winter, the river freezes solid, and the pillars stand above the ice like sentinels from another era. In summer, the water runs fast and dark beneath them, and the whole scene feels like something from the very beginning of the world. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Lena Pillars receive only a handful of visitors each year, which means, for most of the time, they stand alone, watching the river, remembering everything. Number 7. Cappadocia, Turkey. Some landscapes feel like they belong in a fairy tale. Cappadocia, in central Turkey, is one of them, except it's also one of the oldest inhabited places on Earth. These formations, called fairy chimneys, were created by millions of years of volcanic eruption and erosion. Soft volcanic tuff was deposited across the landscape, and over time, wind and water carved it into cones, columns, and towers. Harder basalt caps sat on top, protecting the rock beneath, creating those iconic mushroom and chimney shapes. But here's what sets Cappadocia apart from every other geological wonder on this list. People moved in. For thousands of years, humans carved their homes, their churches, even entire underground cities into these soft rocks. Göreme, Derinkuyu, Kaymaklı, underground cities that go 8 levels deep, capable of sheltering tens of thousands of people. Half fantasy, half history, entirely astonishing. Cappadocia is proof that surreal and human don't have to be opposites. Sometimes, the strangest landscape is also the one that tells us the most about ourselves, about our need to find shelter in impossible places, and to make them home. Number 8. Salar de Atacama, Child. There are places on Earth where the light is so pure, so total, that it feels almost aggressive. The Salar de Atacama is one of them. Sitting in the driest, non-polar desert on Earth, the Atacama Salt Flat is a vast, bleached plain of mineral formations shaped by centuries of wind and extreme heat. No rain falls here. The air is so dry, it preserves everything. Ancient mummies, wooden artifacts, even footprints from centuries ago remain almost perfectly intact. The salt itself is constantly moving, forming new shapes, dissolving at the edges, rebuilding in the interior. It is a place of total silence and total brightness. And yet, impossibly, flamingos live here. Thousands of them, feeding in the shallow brine pools on salt-loving algae. A spot of vivid living pink in a landscape otherwise drained of color. The contrast is almost painful in its beauty. The Atacama feels like standing at the edge of something, the edge of the inhabitable, the edge of what Earth will allow. And standing there, you realize the edge is further than you thought. Number 9. Mawariki Boulders, New Zealand. What would you think if you found this? Walking along a quiet beach in New Zealand, waves rolling in gently, and there, scattered across the sand, are dozens of enormous, perfectly spherical boulders. Some are the size of a basketball, some are taller than you are, all of them round, perfectly round. The Mawariki boulders look manufactured. They look like they were placed here. By whom or what, the landscape does not say. But here is the answer, extraordinary in its own right. These boulders formed on the ancient seafloor around 60 million years ago. Minerals gradually accreted around a central nucleus, a fossil, a piece of shell, layer by layer, slowly, over millions of years, until they became what you see now. Then, the seafloor lifted, the mudstone eroded, and the boulders were released onto the beach. They rolled out of the rock like eggs from a nest that time forgot. The largest ones are over 2 meters in diameter and weigh several tons. No machine made them. No intelligence shaped them. Just chemistry and time, the two things Earth has always had in infinite supply. Number 10. Wulingyuan Pillars, China. You have seen these before, even if you've never heard the name. These are the Wulingyuan sandstone pillars of Zhangjiajie in Hunan Province, China. And they are the landscape that inspired the floating Hallelujah Mountains in James Cameron's Avatar. Over 3,000 of these pillars rise from the forest floor. They were formed over hundreds of millions of years as ancient seabed quartz sandstone was uplifted, then slowly cut apart by water, wind, and the gradual collapse of joints and fissures, until what remained were these soaring, isolated columns of rock. They are covered in trees. Shrubs grow from cracks in the stone hundreds of meters above the ground. Entire ecosystems live on their surfaces, having never once touched the valley below. There are glass bridges here now, walkways built to let you look straight down into the void between them. The brave ones look. The rest of us take a step back and acknowledge some heights are best appreciated from a distance. If Earth ever wanted to build something that felt like imagination given form, it built Wulingyuan. Number 11. Mount Bromo, Indonesia. There are places that feel like standing at the beginning of the world. Mount Bromo is one of them. In East Java, Indonesia, Mount Bromo rises from what locals call the Sea of Sand, a vast ash plain left by an ancient caldera collapse, over 10 kilometers wide, eerily flat, and almost completely devoid of color. Bromo itself is an active volcano. It erupts regularly, sometimes violently, sometimes just a slow, continuous exhale of sulfur smoke. The local Tenggerese people consider Bromo sacred. Every year, during the Yadnya Kasada festival, they climb to the crater's edge and throw offerings, food, livestock, money, into the smoking mouth of the volcano, as gifts to the gods they believe live inside. They climb toward what other people run from. At sunrise, the ash plain turns amber. The smoke catches the light. The volcano breathes. And for a moment, you understand why people built their faith around this place. Some things are too powerful to ignore. Some fires are too bright to look away from. Number 12. Hanging Lake, Colorado, USA. Sometimes, the most surreal thing isn't scale. Sometimes, it's the feeling that something shouldn't be here, that it defies the logic of how things are supposed to work. Hanging Lake, Colorado. This lake sits on a ledge, partway up a canyon wall, fed by waterfalls that cascade down from above. The water is almost supernaturally clear, a vivid turquoise green, shallow enough that you can see every detail of the bottom. It was formed by the dissolution of the travertine below, a geological accident, the kind of thing that happens once in a very long while and leaves something too beautiful to explain simply. The logs that have fallen into the lake are slowly being encrusted in white calcium deposits, preserved and transformed. The lake is quietly turning everything it touches into art. Fewer than 1,000 people are allowed to visit per day, with permits required. The trail to reach it is steep and narrow, and every single person who makes the climb says the same thing when they see it. They stop talking. We've traveled far, but we're not done. What comes next? These are the places that will leave you questioning the very idea of ordinary. The ones that might keep you awake tonight. Number 13. Surtsey Island, Iceland. Most of us will never watch land being born. Surtsey did not exist in 1963. In November of that year, fishermen near Iceland noticed smoke rising from the sea. What they thought was a ship on fire turned out to be something far stranger. The ocean floor was erupting. Over the next 4 years, lava poured from the seafloor continuously, building up layer by layer until a new island broke the surface and stayed. They named it Surtsey, after Surt, the Norse fire giant of the underworld. Surtsey is now a protected scientific reserve. No humans live there. Only scientists with special permits are allowed to visit, specifically to observe what happens when life colonizes a completely sterile environment. Birds arrived first, then plants carried by wind and current, then insects. Life, it turns out, wastes no time. Surtsey is still only 60 years old. In geological time, that is nothing. That is a breath. We are watching Earth write the very first sentence of a new story, and we don't know how it ends. Number 14. The Richat Structure, Mauritania. There is a shape in the Sahara Desert that you can only truly see from space. A perfect eye, staring upward. The Richat Structure, in Mauritania. "50 kilometers in diameter, concentric rings of rock, each layer slightly different in composition and color. A geological formation so precise, so circular, that early astronauts used it as a landmark from orbit to calibrate their cameras. It was once thought to be a meteor impact crater. Scientists now believe it formed through a combination of volcanic uplift and erosion, a dome of rock that pushed upward, then was worn down by millions of years of wind into these almost perfect rings. But almost is doing a lot of work in that sentence. because no impact formed it. No volcano explains it perfectly. The Richat structure defies neat categorization, even after decades of study. It remains, at its core, a mystery with very neat edges. Whatever it is, whatever made it, something about this planet built a landmark visible from space, and it didn't need our help to do it. Number 15. Painted Hills, Oregon, USA. Not every surreal landscape needs to be extreme. Some are surreal simply because they are soft. The Painted Hills of Oregon. These low, rounded hills are made of ancient volcanic ash deposits, laid down over 35 million years. Each color represents a different geological era, a different climate, a different ecosystem, compressed into a stripe. The deep red layers formed in warm, moist conditions. The black layers indicate ancient swamps. The golden yellows are the remnants of drier, more arid periods. You are reading a diary. The hills are the words. There's no entry fee, no fence around them. You stand at the edge of a wooden boardwalk and look out across 35 million years of Earth's autobiography rendered in watercolor. It is, without question, one of the most quietly beautiful things this planet has ever made, and it asks nothing of you, only that you look. Number 16. Socotra, Yemen. If any single place on Earth could convince you that life has visited from somewhere else, it might be this one. Socotra Island, Yemen. Isolated from the African and Arabian mainlands for around 6 million years, Socotra evolved in complete isolation. The result is an island where over a third of plant species exist nowhere else on Earth. The most famous is the dragon blood tree. It grows only here. Its canopy spreads flat like an umbrella, an evolutionary strategy for collecting moisture from the island's dry mist. When cut, it bleeds, a deep, thick red sap that was traded across the ancient world as dye, varnish, and medicine. In Arabic, Socotra is sometimes called the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean, but that doesn't quite capture it. The Galapagos has strange animals. Socotra has strange everything. Strange trees, strange plants, strange silence. The trees bleed red, and somehow that feels right. Like the island itself has a heart and has always known how to show it. Number 17. Havre, Iceland. There are places where the Earth stops pretending. Favorite? Iceland. Located near Lake Mývatn in northern Iceland, Havre is a geothermal field where the planet's interior vents its heat directly at the surface. Mud pools bubble at near boiling temperatures. Fumaroles, vents in the ground, hiss steam and sulfur continuously. The smell is immediate and unmistakable, egg-like, sharp, ancient. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, the seam where the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates are pulling apart. Every inch of the country is geologically active, but Havre is where that activity is most raw, most present, most difficult to ignore. It looks angry, but that's not quite right. It looks alive, in a way that reminds you that the ground beneath every city, every road, every field you've ever walked, is not solid forever. It's just slow. Havre is the place where slow becomes visible. Number 18. Torres del Paine, Patagonia. Some landscapes are beautiful, and some landscapes are powerful. Torres del Paine, the Towers of Paine, in Chilean Patagonia, are the second kind. These three granite monoliths rise nearly 3 kilometers above sea level, carved by ancient glaciers into almost vertical faces. They stand together, slightly apart, as if they're holding a conversation that's been going on longer than any language. The weather here changes without warning. Sun, storm, snow, all in an afternoon. Hikers travel from across the world to stand at the base and look up. The approach takes days. The view itself takes seconds to understand, and a lifetime to forget. There's something about extreme vertical scale that reorganizes the mind. These towers don't just make you feel small, they make you feel clarified, like everything unnecessary has been stripped away by the wind, and what's left is just you and the granite and the sky. Untamed, unapologetic, the most honest landscape on Earth. Number 19, Lake Natron, Tanzania. And then there is this, Lake Natron, Tanzania, a place that is equal parts terrifying and beautiful. Lake Natron is one of the most extreme environments on Earth. Its water is saturated with sodium carbonate, a mineral that seeps up through the lakebed, making it caustic enough to damage skin and eyes on contact. The temperature near the hydrothermal springs can reach 60 degrees Celsius. Animals that enter the lake do not always leave. The calcified remains of birds and animals, preserved in the salt, give the lake its most haunting feature. Figures standing frozen at the water's edge, like statues from a civilization that never was. Photographer Nick Brandt documented them in a series of photographs that became famous worldwide. These weren't placed there. He found them, exactly as they stood. Sometimes, the most dangerous places are the safest ones for those who understand them. And yet, and this is the twist, this is also one of the most important flamingo nesting sites in the world. Over 2 million lesser flamingos breed on Lake Natron's islands and shores. They thrive here, precisely because it is too hostile for most predators to enter. The deadly lake protects the most delicate birds on the continent. The only question that matters is whether we're paying attention. We tend to look up into the sky when we think about other worlds. We scan the horizon of space for something alien, something extraordinary, something that might shake our understanding of what existence can look like. But this planet, this blue, water-wrapped, improbable rock we were born onto, contains more wonder than any one lifetime can hold. It has painted its hills in 35 million years of color. It has grown trees that bleed red and bloom only on one island in one ocean. It has built perfect spheres from seashells and time. It has made rivers that run 5 colors, and deserts that fill with water, and lakes that calcify the dead and protect the living. It built a new island from fire and didn't announce it to anyone. It drew a perfect circle 50 kilometers wide in the middle of the Sahara and waited for us to fly high enough to see it. Earth is not a backdrop. It is not scenery. It is the story. We are very new here. The mountains were here before us, and they will be here long after. The acid pools will bubble. The salt flats will blind. The stone pillars will stand. This planet doesn't need us to be extraordinary. It already is.